Hey guys, this is Dr. Casey Johnson. Thank you guys so much for taking time to listen to the Unlock Wellness podcast. I know you're going to love today's episode with Matt Bennett. Matt is doing some amazing work, so I'm excited to have him on to share his story with you guys. If you've been loving the Unlock Wellness podcast, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. Also, be sure to follow me on social media to keep up with the latest podcast episodes. The best way to connect with me is on Instagram and Facebook. My username across the board is at Dr. Casey Johnson. That's DrKaseyJohnson. You can also check out my website at drkaseyjohnson.com. It has all of the past podcast episodes and more information about each guest under the Listen tab. While you're on my site, be sure to also check out the Shop tab, where you can check out my first book of my Healthy Children's Book series and learn about the Unlock Wellness Project, which supplies a wellness bag to a child in need for each book purchased. Thank you again for listening. I hope this episode leaves you feeling inspired to start making positive changes to your health. Now it's time for today's episode. I hope you love my conversation with Matt Bennett. Welcome to the Unlock Wellness podcast. I'm Dr. Casey and excited for today's guest. I'm here with Matt Bennett. Matt is a holistic health educator with a focus on detoxification and raw living foods. He runs a YouTube channel called Raw Intuition, has coaching services, and teaches raw food classes. So I'm just excited for Matt to share his own personal wellness journey and just all of the amazing things he's been working on. So Matt, thank you so much for taking time to come on. I'm excited to have you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, we'll just kind of just jump into it, just walk us through your backstory, what your own health looked like growing up and how it evolved to this, raw food lifestyle that you're living right now.
All right. Yeah. So, I really started out, basic standard American diet. Like most people, grew up on a lot of processed foods, meat, dairy. And I had a lot of health issues since I was a kid. I had eczema pretty much from the beginning. My parents were putting cortisol cream on me, wrapping me in warm wet washcloths. And I had asthma, really debilitating asthma where I was on a inhaler and a nebulizer. So that really impeded me as I was growing up as a child, playing soccer and football and all the sports. Really dry skin, depression as I got into my teen years, cold sores, canker sores, blotchy skin. And I remember when I was a kid, I would always get this really thick white coat on my tongue. And I just thought it was normal. And it was just one of those little things that what I know now is, my lymphatic system and my health was really not very good from the inside of my body.
Were you taking a lot of antibiotics and stuff too? Usually you see that kind of symptom when somebody's gut health is just destroyed.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure if I was getting a lot of antibiotics. I do know that, there's antibiotics in meat. So that's one source that a lot of people don't realize, even if they say they haven't taken antibiotics, if they're taking, there could be some in their milk, in the meat products. So I think I might have been getting some from there. I think a lot of it was the dairy, really clogging me up. And I can get into that a little bit later too. But the dairy, the meat, those are the things that once I removed from my diet, I really started to see a lot of improvements. And kind of just to wrap up some of these issues that I was facing as when I was younger, I'm not sure if you've heard of keratosis pilaris. It's the little bumps on the back, like on your triceps. I had those, and when I cut out the meat and the dairy products, those went away. as well as, my blotchy skin on my face. I would always get like my nose. I broke my nose when I was in about ninth grade, I think it was. And since then, I would have like the skin on my nose would just get red. And I never expected changing to a plant-based diet to help that out.
Right.
But that even went away after I had basically detoxed and gotten into this healthy lifestyle and adopted the plant-based diet. So
that's cool.
I mean, there's just been so many different benefits that I have experienced that really weren't even on my radar. Some things I didn't even realize were issues until later on down the road, where I noticed that I no longer had these things going on.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So like, during that time, like what even made you want to like give up meat and dairy? Like, was there somebody that was influencing you, or did you like watch a documentary? Like, what kind of like led you to even want to go that route to begin with?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, there are a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's a few different things that really led me down this path. One of the main things was in my later teen years, I started to have thinning hair. And that was something that really scared me. I really didn't want to lose my hair. And so I was going on the internet and I was just Googling all the different, what can I do to stop thinning hair? What foods can I eat? All these different things. And so that was one thing. And I look back and, I was always sort of a health conscious person. I always tried to get, like the vitamin waters and things like that, where I thought they were healthy.
Right.
I would drink a lot of milk because I was told since I was a child that, I needed to drink milk to get protein and it was good for my bones. And so I was doing all these things in a mindset that I was being healthy when actually, that wasn't exactly the case. So basically, the hair loss was one part of it. And that really kept me motivated to keep getting healthier and searching for different things. Also, there was a few different influences that I had on YouTube that I came across actually during my search for hair loss solutions. Dan McDonald, the Life Regenerator on YouTube, he was one of my big sources of inspiration. Also, a Dr. Robert Morse on YouTube, he helped me discover detoxification and all the many benefits from that. So, and the last one was John Kohler. So these are kind of like my detoxification and raw food. They kind of got me into it. And so I learned a lot from them. And through that, just continual searching. And the more I learned, the more I wanted to know. And so I kept researching. And even along those, during that time, I was experiencing a lot of people in my life that were coming down with cancer and other issues, a lot of health issues. And as I was discovering, the connection between our food and our health, it really motivated me to try and help them and just educate them about the benefits of plant foods. And so, and not only food, but chemicals in the water and in processed foods, right, and in beauty products, Yeah,
because it all accumulates, and it's not just one thing, but like whenever you're like, it could be like, oh, well, I'm just getting a little bit from this product or just a tiny bit from that product. But whenever you have all of those products and then you're eating, you're consuming them, and then like you jump in the shower and you're washing with, like, it all just adds up and it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of became my mission as I was learning all this, and at the same time I was seeing all these people in my life come down with health conditions. I just wanted to keep learning more on how to help these people, and at the same time help myself. And another, my mom was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and so that was another big factor in motivating me to find solutions to, helping the body to heal. And I always had, I was never really a pill taker too big. Back in the day when I was still, trying to save my hair through external sources, I did take, over the counter, all the shampoos and all that stuff that you can get,
right.
As well as a couple pharmaceuticals that you can take. So, I did a lot of different things that now I realize probably weren't benefiting my overall health. I was willing to sacrifice my overall health for my hair, but when I kept getting educated, I realized that my whole body needed to become healthy if I wanted to benefit my hair, because, we can't just focus on one thing without focusing, on the whole body. You have to focus on the whole body in order to change the overall health of everything within the body. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of these things that got me to where I am. As I got more into like detoxification, I was wanting to learn more about the food. And so I took a certification course at the Graf Academy of Raw Food Education down in Atlanta, Georgia. That was an amazing experience. And so down there I learned, a lot of tips and tricks on how to make some delicious raw food recipes and meals. Awesome. Yeah, it was one of the greatest experiences that I've had. So
you're like a pro with the spiralizer then, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You can do so much with the spiralizer. It's amazing.
I love mine. It really is. It really is. So like, did you go straight from eating how you were eating to raw diet, or did you kind of like cut meat, dairy, vegan, then go raw? You know what I mean? Like, what was the progression there?
Yeah. So no, it was actually probably about a year to a year and a half of a transition. So at first I got into this mainly just for health. And so it wasn't about veganism or anything. I didn't even really quite understand what veganism was. And now today, I like to champion veganism. I think it's a great lifestyle. But at the time, it was solely for health. And so it was like a slow transition through, I was like doing raw eggs for a little while. I was doing like I was really intrigued by raw milk. So it was, I kind of experimented with some of those things. And then as I learned more about, the health effects of animal protein on the body, I started to eliminate that. The first thing that I got rid of was meat. Dairy came after that. And then after that, it was, milk. And then I was still kind of, dabbling with cheese, but that probably took about 4 or 5 months before I gave that up. And for me, it was really just the education. It wasn't that I was 100% like addicted to it. It was more that I was still kind of entrenched in that protein mindset. And I thought that the cheese was a good source of that. So as I learned why cheese can clog us up, and it actually can take calcium out of the body, then I was able to get rid of that. And so I think about after 6 months, I had gotten rid of all the animal products, and then it was the bread that took a little bit longer after that. Again, just because I didn't know how it was affecting my health. I didn't think it was that bad. So I kind of held on to it for a little while. And not to say that it is. I know, I mean, you can be perfectly healthy and still consume bread. But
Right.
when I got away from the bread, I definitely started to feel better. So just for me personally, getting rid of the bread, and that probably took another couple months, but it was really, it was a pretty slow transition. I know some people like to try and do it just overnight,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, I feel like I've been able to sustain this lifestyle for so long. It's been about 6 years now.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and so I think taking a transitional period really allows you to not only learn, but just let your body adjust.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's all about listening to your body, and if you and like you said, like I mean, I love every type of story. Like I respect everybody's progress, whether they're taking months or years, or if they make changes like that overnight. Like I love all of them because it's so individualized,
Yeah.
and it's like, but that's very true though, because like if you do eliminate, like maybe for you, like if you are somebody that needs to transition, a little slower, if
Hmm.
you are able to eliminate one thing, then you're like, wow, I feel great doing that. And you do something else, you're like, feel even better. Like, so it's really cool. Just kind of like amps up that just body awareness over time.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing that I like to, use as a metaphor or just a saying is that, when you start to eat healthier, when you get on a plant-based diet and you allow your body to kind of get back to its equilibrium and its balanced point, it really allows you to start eating in align with your body rather than in aligned with your mind. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really, really easy to let the mind get you into eating, things that you might not benefit from.
Right.
But so for me personally, I can tell you a story where it really made it obvious that the things that I would eat previous to this lifestyle, that I didn't know that they were so irritating to my body. But once I cleaned out, it was pretty obvious. So I had been doing a lot of cleansing, fasting, eating a lot of fruit for several months, and we had a birthday party for one of my friends, and we went out to a restaurant, and I had some fried green beans, and I thought, it's plant-based, it shouldn't be too bad. And so I had some of those fried green beans, and I went home that night, felt a little off, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was in the bathroom for literally a week straight. I couldn't leave the bathroom.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, like I was just, my body completely rejected it, and I pretty much put me into just like I was out of commission for a complete week, and so that really just showed me it was like the body is now in control rather than my mind. And so when you eat clean and you allow your body to take back control, then it's easier to stick with it, because you'll really feel the difference if you try to go back to eating some of those processed foods that you used to eat.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And Matt, why don't you, like, because we've been talking a little bit about just eating a raw diet. I personally, like, I am plant-based, but I'm not 100% raw. So
Mm-hmm.
like I don't think I've had anybody that is 100% raw vegan. So if you want to just kind of explain exactly what that means, the benefits, just like kind of walk, the audience kind of through that in case they have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah. That's, there's not probably too many people that are 100% raw. And to be honest, I am personally not 100%. I don't try to,
Oh, okay.
tell people I'm 100%. I'm very high raw, but I won't be completely rigid with it if, I don't have access to a good amount of quality produce at the time. So here in Minnesota, we kind of go through waves where we don't have access to the greatest quality fruit. And so I will go to, and it's just going to like steamed vegetables and some sweet potatoes and things like that. But the raw food diet is basically a diet of uncooked plant foods. And the reason for that is because when you take the foods exactly as they are from nature, they're still going to have all of the enzymes, all of the water content, the fiber is intact, all the beneficial vitamins and antioxidants are still going to be all intact. And for me, I feel like that is just so important. And we can look to nature and see that all other animals on the planet eat their food just as it comes from in nature. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of the guideline, is just that, it's getting back to as natural of a diet as we can in our society. It's not always easy to be 100% raw, just because our society is set up not just for, animal foods and things like that, but just cooked foods in general. And so you can do it and you can be successful with it, but you don't have to be 100% raw in order to realize all the different benefits that eating a very high raw plant-based diet can provide. So yeah, I mean, that's really the gist of it.
Even like, I know a lot of people that will do like raw until maybe like dinner or something like that, or maybe like half the day or even a single meal, or even just incorporating more raw foods into each meal. You're going to see those type of benefits, which is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. There's raw till 4. There's a lot of different variations to it that you can do. And it's good to experiment with different ways of doing it so that you can really see what feels best for you. Because again, not everybody is going to feel feel so good eating the same way as somebody else. So,
back to body awareness.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Listening to the body, realizing how it reacts to certain foods and eating different ways. And so for me, I have experimented, I have been 100% raw for a good amount of time. And then I've gone back and forth and I've kind of experimented with it. And what I find for myself personally is that the closer I get to 100% raw, the better I feel. Mm-hmm. But again, in Minnesota, I know there's people that probably do it, but I find that having a holistic viewpoint on it, a lot of people will try to stay 100% raw, but they'll they stress out about it. And being stressed out and unhappy about, a certain aspect of your life is going to play a part in all the other parts of your life. So I really think finding a healthy point that you can fall back on, if you can't, be the 100% ideal of what you want, find some compromises that are going to allow you to stick with your healthy lifestyle and be happy with, with what you can do given your certain circumstances.
No, exactly. And it's like you were saying, I mean, if you're more stressed about it than and you're trying to do this for health reasons, then it's kind of counteractive, because that has just as negative effects as maybe if you had something that was bad, or are you really stressing that you have to have something steamed instead of 100% raw? On the grand scheme of it, that's still amazing.
Right.
So it's just, just doing what you're able to do. And kind of side note, I mean, technically a raw food, it can be dehydrated, right? Or is it cooked up to 118?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
118 degrees is where they say that the enzymes start to degrade. And that's, you can still have warm foods on a raw food diet, and they would still qualify as being raw because, they're just not getting above that temperature.
The enzymes,
right. Cool. And I've, it's a good point I've heard people make is that, when you eat cooked foods anyways, you kind of have to let it cool back down basically to that point anyways for you
Sure.
to start eating it if you don't want to burn your tongue,
Sure. Right. No, that is a good point. And like, it's pretty cool though, Matt, because it's like I know we probably follow a lot of the same people on social media, and like you do notice like the people that do eat mainly raw foods or even 100% for like, cause they're out there as well. Like you said, not as many, but they're there. Like, I mean, they're extremely vibrant, happy people. And like, you have to understand, like, if you're listening, like your body has a frequency, like when you eat foods, like if foods have frequencies as well. And whenever you eat live foods, it increases the vibrations. And whenever you put foods in your body that aren't alive, that decreases it. And like people that are happy, successful people have higher vibrations. And like, I know that kind of, if you're listening, it probably sounds like super, like maybe not gonna say like hippie or like, but this is actually like scientifically researched stuff. And it's really interesting. And it's I think it's just, I mean, amazing how amazing the body is.
It really is. Like you said, I mean, diet it's the chemistry and the energy that we're bringing in from our environment, from nature, and we're putting it into our bodies. And when we do that, you cannot help but to raise your vibration, not only in your physical body, but mentally, spiritually. It affects all aspects, and when you clean out your body with these raw foods, the mind and the body are so interlinked that for me personally, I dealt with depression in my teenage years, low self-esteem, just poor self-image. And that wasn't something that I was really too aware of until I had switched over and gotten into this lifestyle of raw foods, healthy, holistic lifestyle habits. And I started to see just how my mind was changing, how my depression had gone away. And again, I didn't even really realize that I was really that depressed. I knew something was off, but when I felt the way that I feel now, this way of living and eating this way, it's so night and day. My self-esteem is through the roof compared to what it used to be. Just my thoughts, my thoughts are so much more positive than they used to be. And so, I mean, that is one thing that, people don't talk about as much about the raw foods. A lot of it's just about, losing weight, getting healthy, but the mind, I really stress the importance of getting a healthy mind. And from these raw foods, it impacts so much more of your life. It's just amazing.
Yeah, no, that is amazing. And I love how you're, using what you've experienced to really help other people. So do you want to like talk about everything that you're working on, your website or your YouTube channel, and just kind of like, walk us through everything that you're doing, and just, how you can help people that are listening?
Yeah, of course. So I actually just published my first children's book.
Awesome.
It's a vegan children's book. Just kind of introduces children to animals that are used for food and clothing, and it shows them that these animals that we're using for food and clothing are just the same as the dogs and cats and other animals that we have in our homes, that we show love for and we care for. And the farm animals, they have the same range of emotions. They love, they feel fear and pain and happiness and joy. And so I know when I watched the movie Earthlings, and
it's so great and so hard to watch.
It is. It definitely was a very hard.
It is. If you're listening, please go watch it. It's free. I mean, you can find it free online. Like,
Yeah.
Google it or YouTube or sorry to interrupt for that.
No, it's fine.
If you're listening, go watch it. It's hard, but please just try to finish it. It's crazy.
Yeah. So after I had seen Earthlings, I mean, I was feeling so many emotions, but it really upset me that I wasn't aware that animals were going through this. And so that's one part behind the book that I feel like children should know, that the animals are not just objects, that they are, living, they're individuals, they have emotions and personalities just like we do, just like our family pets do. And so I just think it's important that we share that with our children up front so they can make their own decision about if they want to eat them or not.
Right. Based on what's actually happening, not what commercial TV is kind of, blinders on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the book. And it's on my website. My website is myrawintuition.com. There's, my coaching services on there, kind of gives a little background on myself. And, it's just something that I'm still in the process of really finding how I want to, put my energy into serving others. I'm still kind of working on which direction I want to go. But in the meantime, I help other people learn how to adopt either a plant-based diet or a raw food diet, and just help them along their journey to better their health. And also, I'm on Instagram, Raw Intuition. You can find me on Facebook, Matt Bennett, or I have a Raw Intuition Facebook page as well. So those are pretty much what I've got going on. I've got a recipe book that I'm working on.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that should be coming out within the next year, I'm hoping. I just kind of started working on it, but it's going to be a raw food recipe book, and it might have like a 30 to 60 day transitional guide in there to help people figure out the lifestyle. So
that's cool. Yeah, when it comes out, keep me posted because I can share it on my page. That way, if whoever's listening, they can check it out once it's available too.
Yeah, of course.
Cool. And before we close out, I forgot to mention it when we were talking earlier, but I think a big question people probably have, and you've probably hear it a lot, is if somebody's trying to eat mainly raw or maybe just vegan in general, just how to explain that consuming more fruit isn't a problem. Because I know because I've learned this as well, and then had to kind of relearn some stuff. But you just want to go in on fruit and just the consumption and how the sugar, you shouldn't really be worrying about the sugar consumption because it's a whole fruit. But I'll let you kind of take over because I'm sure you get that question all of the time.
Yeah, it is a concern for a lot of people. There's so many different reasons why people think that fruit is not an optimal food for us. But one thing that I try to communicate to people is, when you think about what our natural food would be, you look at all other animals that eat their natural foods, they don't have to do anything to them in order for them to taste good to them. And so we have our tongue, which is kind of the guardian of the body is what I like to call it. And there's no other food that can get past the tongue without us manipulating it than fruit. Right? So if fruit tastes delicious to us, it's the bright, vibrant colors that our eyes are designed to pick out. It smells good to us, and it provides hydration to our body, and we need that hydration. It's a very high electrical food, and our nervous system is an electrical system. So there's just so many different reasons why fruit is so healthy for us. And if you're worried about fruit and gaining weight, people kind of put fruit sugar and processed sugar in the same category. But that is not the case, because fruit from fruits is coming with, again, the water, the fiber, the antioxidants, all the other nutrients that accompany that fructose and glucose. And our body knows exactly what to do with it. When we're consuming processed sugar, that is completely unnatural to the body, and it doesn't have the fiber, it doesn't have the water content, and so it's very easily absorbed into the bloodstream and can cause issues. It's very acidic.
And I understand like why they would have that mindset, because it is pushed a lot, and it's it's funny. I was talking to one of my friends that I was helping with, and they're like, yeah, I'm putting it into my food calculator and my sugar's way up. I'm like, but it was all from just like a cup of fruit, like I'm like, it's totally okay. You're good. Like, don't live and die by that app. So yeah, but when you look at the breakdown, like, I'm sure that would look scary, but if you're getting it, it's all about the source. If you're getting it from that right source. Right. And like you said, I like how you put that. I mean, it really it is coming with the extra water. It is coming with the extra fiber to dilute it and flush it out of your system. Like, it's totally different.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, I lost 40 pounds eating mostly fruit. So, I mean, that right there, from my personal experience tells me that, fruit isn't what causes us to gain weight. It's those high fat and protein foods, as well as the processed foods, that are really causing us issues. And for people that with type 2 diabetes or even type 1 diabetes, they do very well on fruit and on plant-based diets, because they're getting rid of the animal protein and the saturated fats from those animal foods, which clog up our insulin receptors and cause the blood sugar issues that are usually attributed to the fruit. So
yeah, no, absolutely. No, very well put. And so I know you talked about, recipe book coming out. You mentioned the social media links, but if you can just mention them all one more time, just so they have them all at the end, and that way I can put them in the show notes, and then they can just click away and go follow you.
Perfect. Yeah. So YouTube is Raw Intuition. Instagram is Raw Intuition as well. Facebook, you can find me. You can either find me by my name, Matt Bennett, MattBennett, or I have a Raw Intuition Facebook page as well. So those are my main social media platforms, and you can find me there.
Perfect. And then Matt, just closing question that I ask every guest, but if you just had one piece of advice for the audience, maybe it was your biggest takeaway through your whole journey, but if you just had one piece of advice to give, what would it be?
Yeah, that's a great question. If I were going to give one piece of advice, it would really be to, let's see, there's so many.
No pressure.
Yeah. Just educate yourself, and don't be satisfied if you're not finding the answers with the mainstream kind of idea. Don't be afraid to look in other areas for answers, because if I would have gone with just the advice of my doctors with my asthma and my eczema and all my other issues, I would still be on my inhaler and my other medications, and I would maybe be worse off than I was back then. So it's really about listening to your intuition, following what you feel is right in your heart, and experimenting and just continuing to educate yourself and being compassionate with yourself as well. So don't be too hard on yourself if you're not where you want to be, because today is a new day and you can always improve from where you were yesterday. So just don't give up if you are struggling, and just keep looking for answers.
No, that's perfect, Matt. Thank you so much for taking time to come on. I loved having you. And yeah, guys, if you're listening, go follow Matt and just check out his website. And he has so much great information to give you guys. So Matt, just thank you so much.
Thank you, Casey. I enjoyed it.
Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you loved my conversation with Matt. He's doing such amazing work, and I know he's going to change so many people's lives. Be sure to give Matt a follow on social media to keep up with the amazing things that he's doing. You can find his social media links and website that we talked about in the episode in the show notes, but you can also find them on my website as well at drkaseyjohnson.com. That's drkaseyjohnson.com. Click on the Listen tab. Then from there, you'll be able to see all of the past guests that have come on the Unlock Wellness podcast, read a little bit about each guest, and be able to click on their social media links, websites, all of that. So all of Matt's information can be found on my site as well. If you guys loved today's episode with Matt, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you loved it. I hope it inspires you. And most importantly, I hope you take action.